almost makes it. So
Sorry, that was me.
so that's
Yeah, if you have the new base and it's not fitting, then it's probably not gonna work in the case, because the new base is the one that has the flexibility to be able to hold a case and or the iPad. So if it doesn't fit while it's on that new base, we might have to get a little more creative.
yeah, well, I'm not worried about the base because I can make something. That's not a problem. I have all kinds of things here that we can put it on, or I can cardboard construct, a really nice stand to slide it in and tilt it. It's that mirror piece.
Yeah, mirror is the key.
Yeah,
it's the mirror piece.
the replacement ones, they have replacement red things on the website, but I would agree, I'm not sure that it'll fit.
I'm going to contact them.
One.
They have, there's a thin bezel and a thick bezel one, and they could probably give you the measurements for the thick bezel to see if it will go around the case.
Yeah, I'm guessing this is probably the thick bezel one.
Yep.
It's pretty open, and it has a piece that pops back and forth. So it's okay.
Does it have the screw on the side of it?
No screw, just a little piece that pops. I wish you could see it.
Okay.
Yeah, just a little piece that pops back and forth. It's like a little pressure piece.
If there's not a screw on each side of it, the ones online that they're selling for $10 for a replacement of that has a little screw in there that allows you to adjust.
Okay.
With it.
All right, I'll go look.
And that's the link I put in the chat, Lori.
Thank you, friend. See, I knew if I asked.
That's it. All you can do is ask.
Look at that.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
What an amazing group you are.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time talking to the Osmo people. I'm an ambassador like she is, and they've been open to hearing what we need for our students. And that is one of the first things I mentioned was I have students for which would benefit from the Osmo activities, but taking their iPad out of their case is not an option.
Not an option.
Right. Right. Oh, okay. Okay. We will have to look into this a little further.
Well, there you go. Look at that. You come for a special event, you get some problem solving right in the beginning. That's perfect. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Where's Bridget? Oh, there she is. I saw Bridget and then I didn't see her, and there she is. Okay. Hi, Bridget.
I'm sitting in my car.
Not driving. We always feel like we need to say that.
I'm in the back of my car sitting here. I'm not driving at all.
Perfect. Is the window cracked a bit?
Yeah, it is.
All right, just checking. I don't
A
want
little
to.
bit.
I don't want to have to come rescue you or send somebody to rescue you at some point.
We have all learned to work in the most unbelievable environments, honestly. And it's us and it's our children, and it's like work is so different than it ever used to be.
Yeah. I would argue I like working in my car. I don't know. I feel like it's got a little cocoon effect to it. I like it. I don't know. That's me. All right.
I don't know.
Without any further ado, I'm going to turn things over to Bridget and let her run the show here.
Oh, Mike, I don't want to run any show. I can chat for a while. I can chat. I was actually just thinking with you and Karen asking me to talk about this. Karen, I met you at, I was presenting at Closing the Gap in 2006. And my topic at Closing the Gap was the power of speech for writing. And I think of how far we've come from 2006 with the kinds of technology we have. I think some of the concepts are the same and some of the things that are important are the same. But the tools that we have are so different, and there are so many more opportunities. So it gives us more opportunities, but it gives us a lot more complexity in terms of how we do all of this. But I was just thinking, like, some of what I'm doing now is really from what I was doing in 2006, which is, if we do the math, it's lots of years ago. And I'm kind of still saying the same stuff, maybe on a little bit more of a complex level, but it's still the same ideas. So really from that time, I was trying to get people to get away from just only ever looking at handwriting on paper and typing on a keyboard as options for writing. And, I know speech recognition with Dragon Naturally Speaking, and at the time we had Kurzweil and we had the IBM speech recognition and we had various different programs. from many years ago, I was always very eager to not only evaluate how children did with speech and speech recognition, but also voice recording, but also ways of actually measuring that. Because I think I've been in the field so long, I'm not interested in trying new things and different things unless I know it really is making a difference. And it's not like every new gadget or gizmo or idea is going to work for every kid. No matter how great the technology is, it's not going to work for every kid. So I think one of my biggest passions, or one of my biggest things that drive the way I work, is I want ways of really measuring what works for each child. And I want to be able to measure what's working with all the different variables. So what I did was about many years ago, at least probably 8 years ago, I set up an online assessment of writing. And I had a few people using it, but it was kind of complex, and it was very, very comprehensive. So you could really go in and put in all the different variables of what was in. And when I say variables, I mean things like your child's seating and positioning, and the kinds of keyboards they were using, and whether it was an adaptive hardware keyboard or a keyboard emulator. So even, those kids using AAC devices as keyboard emulators, or on-screen keyboards or digital keyboards. So all the different kinds of keyboards, and then all the different kinds of rate enhancement tools. So that was set up so that it could really track and measure children's progress with all kinds of different assistive technology. And Karen's been fantastic with working with all of this and giving me a lot of feedback. And she kept saying to me, you've got to make it more simple. You've got to make it easier. And that's what the problem that I had was. It was a tool that, and Karen gave a lot of great feedback, and I had quite a number of other people using it, but I just kept hearing it was too complex and too difficult, or too difficult for people to use it easily. There was a lot of learning involved and a lot of complexity. So what I did, mostly at Karen's pushing and encouragement, was I redid it all. And it's now
beautiful, and it's easy, and it's fantastic.
It's very easy now. It's very easy. And Karen, the one thing we've added in, which I don't think you know, is you now have the option of emailing the reports. So once your student is done,
Yep,
you did see that, you can now email the report. So you know what I'll do? I don't want to, I know a lot of you in this room, and I know you're AT people, so you're going to see this and probably get it immediately, because my goal was to make it so easy that I wouldn't have to tell you really. I think for AT people, I don't have to tell you the significance of this, because that's what your field is. And it should be easy enough that I really shouldn't have to show you how to use it. So I'm just going to, what I did was I did a quick slideshow, so I'll put it into the chat here with a very quick overview. But I'll share my screen, and I'll show you what this looks like here. So let me just hide my meeting controls here. So it's called the Online Assessment of Writing Method. And I specifically wanted to call it is all online, but I wanted to call it an assessment of writing methods, because it specifically looks at actual methods of writing, it doesn't look at the whole entire continuum of writing. And we all know there's an enormous complexity in writing, but this is input methods. So this has been my mantra forever. Multiple methods of writing, that children can write at their maximum potential if they use many different methods of writing. And I'm talking about methods of writing at all stages of the writing. So it's producing their writing, the checking, the editing, the end product. We should be using multiple methods of writing throughout the entire writing process. And what we need to do is we need to be able to evaluate which methods work best for each student. Not that we will ever, it's the same as communication. We're never going to use one method of communication. There will always be a combination of different methods. But if we look at all the different methods of producing content, or for children to show what they know, we need to know which methods work best, and some methods work better at different times and at different parts of the writing process. So it's not like any one method. It will be the one method we stick with the child, depending on their ages and their grade level and their stage and over time. I stress constantly, I think people get so tired of me talking about this when I'm consulting with groups. I stress the need to evaluate and teach and train writing over a long period of time. We're not looking at teaching keyboarding for 6 weeks and that's done. We did a keyboarding course, or teaching writing while they're in kindergarten and first grade and we're done with that. We're really looking at teaching and evaluating writing really over years. So actually that's what this is. I've got a kind of a live online, it's really just a working tool to really look at how do we look at different strategies to teach writing, and then that whole cycle of ongoing tracking and measuring and evaluation and trying new strategies, and then evaluating and continually trying new strategies. And I say that very loosely because we don't want to try lots of different strategies, and we don't want to be constantly trying new things without really narrowing down what has the most potential of working. But when I'm talking to teams and when I'm doing my training, I go into this whole idea of extended writing evaluation over months and years. I go into that in a lot of detail because I want people to really understand that writing is so complex, and the teaching and the supporting of writing over the stages of a child's educational career, we have to continually support writing, and we may have to try different strategies at different times of their life. So the online assessment of writing, it covers 5 methods of showing what you know. And so handwriting obviously is the first one that everyone around the whole world, and I'm doing quite a lot of work with countries in Africa, and a lot of children in Africa and in Mauritius and different countries don't have access to things like speech recognition. And a lot of them just don't have access to typing because they don't have access to devices. But handwriting is something that every child on the whole planet, no matter what environment they're in, they need to be able to handwrite. And then the other methods are typing, voice recording, speech recognition. And I include drawing. I do a lot of discussion about drawing and all the different methods of drawing and annotation and outlining and diagramming. And so I think drawing is also a very important part of the whole process, those early stages of drawing towards handwriting. So what the online assessment does is it allows you to track and keep writing samples for all of these 5 methods, and to keep those samples of evaluation, those writing samples, over as long as you need for working with a child. What this specific tool does is it measures words per minute and time spent working for the 4 methods: for handwriting, typing, voice recording, and speech recognition. It will measure words per minute and the time spent working. For handwriting and voice recording, the online assessment will transcribe all the words that are handwritten on a page into text. So you'll end up with both of those samples. You'll end up with the child's handwriting page, a picture of the child's handwriting page, and you'll end up with the text that's transcribed. With voice recording, it also transcribes the words into text and gives the words per minute. The same with handwriting, it gives the words per minute. And then for the voice recording as well, online, you have the voice recording sample, which you can download if you want to, so that you have that as a record. And then you also have the actual text. The thing that I'm excited about this is that you can track writing and you can use the evaluations you currently use. And I want to talk about this quickly, and then Karen, I think you could jump in with this because you're also doing this, where you're actually using the online assessment with some of the writing evaluations you're currently doing. So as an example, for instance, the developmental writing scale, and I've got a link here to the developmental writing scale. And really, if you look at children learning how to write from the time that they start making marks on the page, I just see writing as being from the moment a child starts putting anything on a page. It doesn't matter if it's a scribble or a paint smear or whatever it is. And when those early scribbles and marks start becoming more representational of writing, and then they start becoming more representational of words, that entire process, that's why I include drawing as an important part of writing, because I think we have to start from that stage and age. And then we look at what the strategies are that we're teaching. And if we use the tool in the way that it's really planned, you can really look at all the different strategies and tools and all your different methods of the things that you're implementing and your whole program, and you can really look at what the things are that are making difference, because you're tracking with keeping track of not only what the child is doing, but what you're doing to help that child with those skills. So this is not its own independent evaluation tool. It's a tool that allows you to do whatever you're already doing with writing, but to keep track of your child's progress over time, with keeping track of all of their different work samples, with no matter how they produce that writing. And I include children using AAC devices because they can be used very effectively with children using AAC devices. It can also compare the types of writing. And so if your child is doing copywriting from looking at a writing sample and copywriting, writing or typing, or any of these methods, if they've been given something that they need to copy, you can keep track of copywriting as well as creative writing and writing from dictation and any other kind of writing. It really doesn't matter what type of writing you want to be doing with your children. It will keep track of those different kinds of writing. And then the other thing is it's going to give you the option of comparing the proficiency of different types of methods like handwriting and typing. So the way that this is going to move, if this is a tool that people use and people think is useful, and if we have enough people working on this, we'll eventually get to the stage where if you have a child writing with, let's say, for instance, even just plain old handwriting, if you write with maybe strategy number 1 and seating and positioning system number 1, and like if I call it setup number 1, it could be 6 different things that I did for setup number 1, and then setup number 2 could be another whole different strategy, and setup number 3 could be something different. And then what this program would do is compare the different setups and actually print out a graph of how those different setups work. That's what my other tool does do, but I think it's a little bit complex for people to use. But you can compare proficiencies and skill levels based on different types of strategies being used. So really, you're not just looking at how the child is performing and progressing, you're really looking at whether your methods of implementation and the things that you're doing are making a difference. And this, for me, as a long-term consultant, is so important, because I will never go into a school district and really give the impression that I'm going to give all these different ideas and suggestions for one child or for an entire group of children, just based on my experience and the fact that I've been doing this for 30 years. What I really want to do is say, these are the types of ideas and strategies and approaches that I think are worthwhile, but I want a very, very concrete way of really measuring for individuals and for groups whether those strategies really do make a difference. And for me, this is a very concrete way of measuring for writing what types of strategies that I am suggesting are really making a difference. And that's what I've just said. You can compare whether different types of assistive technology tools and strategies are making a difference. And then at the moment, the way that this is set up is that we don't have a login system. It's available for free for anyone to use. And there is no login at all, apart from the fact that the child needs to put their name in, just so you know who it is that's actually working on this. You can download the report, and currently you can actually email the report as well. But we're also working towards getting the system set up so there would be a login, and then you could keep all of that child's records and reports and information in the login, in their own login, over however long you want to be doing this, extended period of time. So we'll work towards that if people are going to be using this. So as I said to you, I really have set this up for the 5 methods of writing production. When I'm doing my teaching and presenting to people, I talk about methods of producing information on 2 different tracks. The first track is a motor kinesthetic track. And the one thing I've started doing a lot in my presentation and teaching is I'm so concerned about the amount of time our children are spending sedentary, sitting in front of screens, that I don't do writing workshops anymore without including the need for movement and motor skills and motor development and brain and body integration. So when I do that, I talk about motor development and sensory development and the motor skills needed for writing. And it fits perfectly to this first track of writing, because producing writing with drawing, handwriting, or typing is a very motor intensive skill. Obviously, there are still all of the cognitive demands and the language demands and the understanding of language and the understanding of putting letters together. So clearly, it's not only a motor demand. However, these are the three systems of producing information that are very motor intensive. Then the second track is the creative and voice track, and these are not motor intensive. We don't have to have strong focus on seating and positioning and motor skills for this. I love the idea that children can, on a day like today here in Wisconsin right now is absolutely gorgeous and beautiful, and a kid could be sitting under a tree and using their creative ideas and using voice recording and just letting their ideas flow. And so I see these as two parallel tracks. I think children should be handwriting and typing because that's what all children need to be able to do. And we need to get children up to their maximum levels of handwriting and typing as possible. But we also need to be maximizing their cognitive, their ideas and their thoughts and their feelings and all of that stuff that for those children who are verbal, it just comes spewing out of their mouth. And then a lot of those kids are just not able to write that down on the same level. So we need to be really putting a lot of emphasis on voice recording and speech recognition. So the way this works is there are the 5 different methods. The child puts their name in. For handwriting, the child needs to have their piece of paper available, and it could be paper or it could be a worksheet or it could be some assignment that you've given that child. But the primary method of producing information on that assignment is handwriting. So it doesn't have to be just a blank piece of paper. When I'm doing a baseline evaluation, I will give a child a blank piece of paper, no lines, no margins, and I'll give them a pen. The pen has to be fairly dark just because the taking of the picture and the OCR is better with a pen that's a pen instead of a pencil. And then the child hits the start timer. So they need to have their paper ready. And then, I could spend a whole hour just talking about the handwriting evaluation part of this, but essentially you want to know that the topic is already set, and that the topic is set, your child knows what they're talking about. You may have done, and the child might have participated in some pre-writing strategies or not. That really is dependent on how you do your handwriting evaluation. But essentially the way this works is the child has pen and paper ready, they hit the start timer, they write while the program is timing them in the background. When they're done writing, and if I was sitting in my office now, I could actually show you this, but it's so simple. It's once you do it once, it's going to be, it's easy. And this is why we try to really make this easy enough that really even kids could read this and do it. It shouldn't be difficult for kids to do. But they hit start timer, do all of their writing. At the moment, you can only do one page because it's one picture that's taken, but there are unlimited numbers of pages that can be done. So it's not like there's really a limit of only one page. You can, this tool allows the child to write a page, take a picture, write another page, take a picture, write another page, take a picture. Mm-hmm. So you do have the option of doing something like the first page is creative writing, write anything you want. The second page could be copy this writing from the writing that was provided to you. The third page could be the writing from dictation. And then what happens is that the child takes a picture of the page. So they really have to, they either have to be working on a device that has a camera, or they do the assignment, and then a teacher with a phone or someone else with a device takes a picture, and then you can manually enter the time and upload the picture. So either way, whether you do it on a device and take a picture or you enter the time manually, it works either way. And then what the program will do will maintain the photo of that page becomes a part of that record, as well as the text that's been transcribed and the time taken to work, as well as the actual words per minute. So that's the handwriting portion. There are step-by-step instructions on this, which I don't really think are necessary, but there are a couple of hints and tips and tricks that are written up in the instructions. And then this is what this looks like. Your child's picture is maintained, and then you've got this is just a screenshot, so I won't be able to do this, but it shows the text that was detected, the date that the date and time, duration, and words per minute. Typing is very simple. It's really, you go to the typing, all your child does is start typing in the box, and when they finish, they hit I'm done. And it just keeps the text, whatever the text the child has written, as well as the date, time, how long it was taken, and words per minute. Voice recording, I have to say I'm probably most excited about the voice recording part, because I am an obsessive voice recording advocate. Every single child, whether they have their own voice or whether they use an AAC device as a voice, they need to be voice recording. I honestly, I think I will go out when I'm done with this is the last thing I'll be saying to everybody I'm talking to. Children need to be recording voices. There are so many benefits to children just thinking and talking. And there are so many ideas and strategies and ways that this can be used that honestly make children realize that they do have a voice, and their thoughts are important, and their feelings are important, and their ideas are important. And if they're not able to write them down, they need to say them. So the way this voice recording works, again, very simple. You hit start recording. Again, you might have done some pre-brainstorming ideas, thinking, talking, watching videos, discussing what's going to be discussed. All of that is just part of the way you assess or the way that you teach. There are lots of different ways this can be approached, but the child just hits start recording. They record their voice. They do have the option of hitting pause. So the same as with the handwriting and with the voice recording, they do have the option of pausing. I will, again, there's a lot of discussion about whether children should pause or not pause, because as far as I think, if a child is sitting and thinking during their voice recording time, I see that as part of the writing time. I think pausing should happen if they need to pause to go to the restroom, if they have to pause because there's a distraction in the room or because something happened. I think pausing should only happen if there's a real reason for pause. But thinking time I see as part of writing time. So I encourage children not to pause if they're just thinking. There's also the option to upload an audio file. And again, if a child has created an audio file on something else and you want to use that audio file, you can just upload the audio file, and it does the same thing. It transcribes the text, gives you the words per minute, and also will give you how long the actual working was happening. Speech recognition is very similar to typing, and it's the same as speech recognition for anything. You either have to use the built-in speech recognition on your handheld device. If you're on a Windows machine, you're going to have either Windows speech recognition or Dragon Naturally Speaking. If you're on a Mac, you'll have to use the built-in the built-in Mac speech recognition. Either way, you need some kind of speech recognition tool. So this program itself does not provide the option of producing speech with speech recognition, but your child would use whatever speech recognition they typically use. And honestly, I see this as being a really powerful way of even just comparing different speech recognition tools. I was doing a presentation a while ago on this, and I used Dragon Naturally Speaking in this, and then I did this again, and I used the Windows speech recognition, and honestly, the comparison in performance was enormous. And because I actually had the text on the report that I could compare, I could easily compare what the text was and the recognition was on Dragon and what it was on Windows. So even if you just use speech recognition and compare different speech recognition tools, it works very effectively for that. So that's speech recognition. And then drawing, I get really excited about the idea of drawing because I think children don't have to be artists and they don't have to be able to draw representational drawing. That's not what this is about. This is not about children being able to draw beautiful pictures. What it is about is teaching children that there is some information in their brains that they can represent with drawing or with annotation or with flowcharts or with, even just drawing and talking and explaining. There are so many different ways that this can be done to really help children show what they know with drawing and brainstorming. And so I think that those early stages of drawing that start becoming handwriting are essential times. And this is a way of tracking how children are doing with that. So anyway, that's everything. That's a quick overview. Because I'm not sitting in my office and I don't have paper with me and all, I mean, I could go on and show you some of it. But I think with this group, maybe we should, how do you handle, okay, wait, I'm seeing some text here. Okay, Karen put in the link to the online assessment. Yeah, Beth, often we don't count those early scribbles as writing. Absolutely. Those early scribbles are, I'm pretty obsessed with that. The early drawing, early doodling, early marks on paper, and then as they develop, the thing that I really love is I love the idea of having those develop, but having those work samples all in one place so we can actually see what those progressions are. Because I think those progressions are, I think they're essential to show us how things are developing and how children are developing. Eliza, the developmental writing scale, yes. So the bit that I know about developmental writing, which I've dabbled with it, I really haven't used it a lot. I'm excited with what I see with it. I think it's a fantastic scale and checking. So I might be wrong about this, but this is the way I see it working. So you really are, working on the scales through those different stages. And I just see this as a way of you, as your children are doing the drawings and the writings and the scribbles, this is a way of you keeping track of all of those. It's not one or the other. I think you're using the developmental writing scale with the tool I've developed, the online evaluation, as a way of keeping track of all of those. And the other thing it's going to give you, which I think is important, because I'm an OT, and because one of the most important things that I think one of the most important things personally, because I've done this for so long, is not just writing, but efficiency of writing. And children being able to not only write with the correct spelling and with the correct punctuation and the right, but the efficiency of being able to get that amount of work done that's needed in the right amount of time. So speed, accuracy, efficiency is essential. And I think that what this tool does is it tracks how long your child worked on the project, and how long the child worked, and then the speed and their words per minute. Obviously for drawing, it's not going to give a words per minute. So for drawing, it's going to show you how long the drawing. So if your child worked for 15 minutes, it's going to say that you had 15 minutes of working, and it's going to give you that picture of the drawing. And then over time, you have all of those drawings in one place and you've got all the data in one place. Now, currently, what it does is that it just allows you to print or save or email a PDF, which to me is not ideal for data collection. Mm-hmm. My other tool, which if anyone is interested in the other tool that I have, it's a lot more comprehensive. It's not as easy to use, but it does collect data in a much more comprehensive way, and it allows you to compare data, and it actually keeps data in a spreadsheet database kind of system. But what I'm trying to do is move towards making this simplified tool as comprehensive, but in a much simpler way to use. Because I know how busy we all are, and that we can't be jumping on every new thing and hoping that we can use it. So I guess that I welcome the idea of talking to this group, because you guys are all doing AT, and I know a lot of you, and I know the level at which you're working and the kind of work you're doing. So getting feedback would be very, very useful for me. If you think you would use it, if you think it would be beneficial for you as a clinician and a therapist, or if it helps your students. I've had some feedback. It's very brand new. I mean, really just been put out like in the last month or so. And I would love to get feedback.
Bridgette,
There are a couple of.
Oh, well, I was going to say, I saw one more question from Natalie in the chat that I just wanted to make sure that you saw. About the drawing part, would you tell the student ahead of time that the drawing doesn't have to be a picture?
Yeah, I definitely. When I use the word drawing, when I do my presentations and discussions, I've got a whole list and I don't have it in front of me. But drawing really encompasses annotation, line diagrams, arrows and doodles, even something that may not look like the whole thing of representational drawing. I try to keep away from the whole representation. I don't expect children to draw pictures of things that look like things and that are supposed to look good. It's more just, it might even just be dots on a page to show numbers of something, So I use the word very loosely. I use the word drawing very loosely. I'm not at all a big worksheet fan, not even, I really don't like. I think children that are doing masses and masses of worksheets are really missing out. But the fact is, anything they're doing on a piece of paper that involves anything, whether it's, a map and showing the direction of, a map during the war and showing the direction of armies movement, or a photosynthesis flow chart of this happens and this happens and this happens, even something like drawing lines to show something that happens and writing a few words and whatever is something that you could then put under that drawing. The drawing's a very loose overview of anything that's done on a paper, and then you take a picture of it. I mean, really, essentially, you could even have a child do cutting up a whole lot of things and gluing them all and pasting them all and saying, okay, that's my representation of what I think a flowchart looks like for photosynthesis, and that's what my input is instead of the drawing, because I'm not able to hold a pencil as well. And so that becomes the drawing. So I think that's a great question, because I really use drawing in a very loose. I use drawing as anything on a paper that doesn't fit into the other the typing and the writing categories or speech recognition.
Yeah, that's great. That's excellent.
And then Shannon, I definitely agree with your comment about not one or the other.
Yeah.
We drive the course the student takes. I think we've got to look at, for me, the bottom line with writing by far is not as much if a child can write at grade level. I honestly, my burning passion is children have to be able to show the wealth of what's in their brain. And it's not just the content of the academics, and do they know those historical facts, or can they write a creative document, a creative writing piece? What I want children to be able to do is to know that their voice and their opinions and their ideas and their thoughts are equally as important as every single other person in the room and every other adult around them. If they want to write up their opinion about something that happened, and they want to write it in their way, we've got to give them the tools, a very wide variety of tools. We're so stuck in the same old ways of doing things. And I hate to say this, but every place I go, our kids are still doing things the same old way in so many places. Now, you guys are AT people, so maybe you're making some really big inroads, and the places you're going, you're not seeing that. But I see that so much, and it's so disturbing to me when we have such incredible options with the way technology works nowadays for children to creatively express who they are and what they think, not just their facts. I don't want them to just be able to spew facts. So, that's my thing. It's kind of my soapbox. The writing thing is a soapbox. And I created this tool just because that's the way I work. I created the same tool, but in a more complex thing years ago, and really people are not using it. So I've tried to make it simpler, and I'd love to get that feedback. And if it's something that people are really going to use, I'll develop it further, and we'll have more features, and we'll have a login option, and, you know, student privacy options will all be built in, and it'll be a secure place for children to be able to do their writing.
That's awesome. Karen, you want to share anything from your use of it? Karen is surprisingly quiet, Bridgette. I don't understand.
Because I haven't stopped talking.
No, but I was waiting and she just didn't jump in.
No. This is no, hearing from, you know, the originator, the creator, the passionate person. How in the world can I interrupt Bridgette with all she has to say? There's no way. I'm just, it helps guide the decisions that we make in recommendations. And, you know, lately we've been hearing some teams want to continue only with handwriting, especially, you know, depending on, and I think, you know, you've addressed this too, and Shannon said not one or the other. I mean, again, it's a combination of options, but this online assessment of writing methods guides the decisions and the recommendations that we make. And yes, there are times when you want to work specifically on handwriting, but when it interferes with what the nature of the task is, you can't limit it. And this gives us some objective information. And I mean, it's so easy to use that it's just great information to share if you're doing consultations or assessments or coaching. It just really does an awesome job guiding the recommendations and giving us some baseline. This is another point too I want to make. You know, sometimes you'll hear people say, oh, well, they can't do that. And it's like, I don't care. I just want to see what their baseline is independently. And the other day I had a student who I wanted him to type the alphabet on the keyboard, and all he did was type, you know, QWERT, went right across the line. That was a starting place. That is how he responded to the keyboard. That gives us some information as a starting place. We want baseline information, then you can go from there. Yeah. But I'm just so grateful to Bridgette for creating this tool. I think it is invaluable for us to use.
So I do have an ask. Of course, I have an ask. I always have an ask, Bridgette.
Ask away.
I think the only other piece that I found when I was using it that I would have loved to seen was a place for us as observer evaluators to include our observations or other data that we see as they're doing it. That would then be included in the report. Obviously, I can write a narrative after the fact, but if there's a place for like observations or like, I don't know, like to me, what I wanted was
exactly
observations,
the narrative. So what I did in the, this is like the third iteration. So I many years ago, probably in like 2003, I put on a very simple, just a keyboarding typing speed thing. And at the end of that, I had two boxes, and the one box was for the adult teacher, parent, therapist, whoever, to put in their comment. And then the other box was for the student to put in their comment. So there was really two boxes for narrative, one from the child themselves. You know, I like this, I didn't like it, it was hard, it was easy, I didn't like this kind of keyboard, like for them to just put in something, anything they wanted to. So I definitely, that is something that we can absolutely do. I would love to develop this more, because obviously, I mean, this is clearly the whole writing thing and children being able to express themselves is such a passionate thing for me, that I want a tool that I can use and that everyone can use. But I think the biggest thing for me is it's not worth me developing this further unless people actually are going to use it. And that's my thing, is we've got it to the stage now where it's usable, and I will add in lots of extra functionality, but really only if it's actually used. And in the AT field, I am an AT clinician. I'm not a producer. I'm not a business. I'm not a company. I'm not a marketer. I I don't really have a way of getting this out to people because honestly, I'm so busy. I'm crazy right now. I'm spending 7 weeks in South Africa and I'm doing 5 full-day trainings and all kinds of consults while I'm there. I'm crazy right now planning all the presentations for that. I don't have time or the ability or the money or anything to market this. I just don't. I'm not a marketer and I'm not a company. My big thing is I need to be able to share this with some key people. And if you think it's worthwhile, I need to know that and I need the feedback. And then I would love for you to share it, obviously, if you think it's worthwhile. So my thing is I would love to develop this further and I would love to do whatever is possible in terms of additional features. But I'm at the stage where I just need to make sure that it's going to be worthwhile spending more time on it. Because sometimes we can think something is a good idea, but that doesn't mean everyone thinks it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Can I just share my screen for a second to just show what it looks like when I report on my findings from the OAWM? Is that okay?
Oh, yeah, sure. Oh, I just assumed it was okay and you were waiting for permission, but yeah, go for it.
So here's in my report, so I have the OAWM results. So here's the output method, the task, and then I explain some of the underlying skills that are needed for the task. And then here's the words per minute. And then here's where I keep my notes. So Alyssa, yes, I'm doing the narrative, like you said. And then I also do a Likert scale because I do think that that's really important to get the feedback. Which method, how did the student feel? And then I also include this is another thing too, because we all describe handwriting differently. And I always include a picture sample in my report so that we are all responding to the same thing. So that's just one way that I have, let me stop that share.
I think that's really important, Karen, the sharing of the images in those reports too. Just that idea of and I think it's what I think you said it before. This idea of an educator saying, or someone saying to you that student doesn't write. They don't do that. They're not able to do that. And having that baseline picture that you're all looking at the same time and being able to explain, no, they are writing. This is an expression right now of something they are looking to get out is really powerful.
Well, and I think it's critically important too, because the words we may use, I think from an OT perspective, or even from an educator's perspective, the words we may use to describe that handwriting is very different than, because we have our clinical impression, right? Obviously, letter formation, line placement, all those little criteria. But when a parent or a student is looking at it, the clinical jargon, it doesn't matter. Like it's really about, okay, what are we, where are we, what's that baseline really looks like? So I am a huge fan of incorporating pictures of the writing in the report, because I think then when we're sitting as a team and we're discussing it, whether the student's present or not, it's very clear we're all starting from the same page of looking at, here is in actuality what they produced. Doesn't matter how they produced it, but what they produced in writing. And then we can talk about what we notice, but then it's not like my parents get lost in clinical jargon if we're not careful.
Yeah,
I do think all the work samples are essential, all the different work samples, because as you said, we come at this from, we see things differently, or we have different perspectives. And, so yeah, I think that's absolutely important. And I think the other thing as well is over time, it's fine having IEPs, but an IEP is one year, and then children go for years and years, and their needs for writing and their demands change, and whatever. Writing is literally it's an essential life skill, and it's a lifelong. Even now, I'm learning when I write, because the more I work, the more things change, and then life changes, and then the types of jobs that I'm doing changes. Learning how to write and keeping up with what's needed is lifelong. Yeah. And I think writing is so essential. It's such, I don't know, it's such an essential skill.
Yeah, I agree, Bridgette. Great, well said. Other thoughts in the conversation? This was great. Bridgette, thank you. First of all, while we're waiting for people to put their thoughts in, thanks for joining us, and thanks for sharing that. It's amazing. Go ahead, Mary, jump in.
I just wondered, how do you handle the voice production in the classroom? How does that handle?
So I think when you have a big room full of lots of children, I don't know that that's going to work, but I've had numerous situations where, especially, so I think using voice on handheld devices or laptops is a lot easier than using voice on a desktop.
Mhm.
And I'm very in favor of voice recording for production of information. And I often say production of information because a lot of people don't think voice recording is writing, but it really is writing. But I love the idea of children finding their most comfortable spot and taking a phone or a laptop or a tablet and going and talking somewhere in their favorite spot. And they can have a wired microphone and put the microphone close and talk quietly and be away from other children. So I think that there is definitely a way, if we work creatively, there's absolutely a way for groups of children to be doing this and to not be close to each other. And flexible positioning and different kinds of environments is vitally important, because the days of sitting, when I think of all the years of being an OT, and we used to think the 90-90-90 positioning, sitting at a table, feet on the floor, 90-90-90, make sure your height of your keyboard, your screen is just at the right of the height of the eyes, and it's got to be a hand's width away. And there was so much focus on the most perfect body position. And now I'm at the stage of, I hate that 90-90-90. I hate the idea of sit, look, listen, and learn. We cannot be telling kids to be sitting still and be quiet and learn. We've got to incorporate movement. We've got to incorporate flexible positioning. And honestly, I could speak for a week just about the whole positioning and environments and the types of, even things like brainstorming. I want to incorporate things like get a group of kids in a circle and do marching, talking brainstorming, but march with a rhythm. Include a rhythm and have that rhythm going, and do marching and talking, or do clapping and talking, and include a rhythm, include movement. And then once you've done that group brainstorming with voice and with rhythm and with sound and a beat, then you have quiet, and then you all go and find a special place. And some kids are going to be under a table, and some kids are going to squeeze themselves in between two different cabinets, and some kids are going to go and lie on a beanbag if there is, hopefully there are some beanbags in the room. And then they're going to be on a handheld device, and they're going to take what they just did with all that sensory of the movement, and they're going to start talking based on the voice brainstorming they just had. And that voice recording is going to be the basis of their writing that they then go and do when they start handwriting or typing. There are so many ways of incorporating movement and rhythm and sound and different kinds of posture and positioning, and then using voice, and then getting to the handwriting and the typing. So no, I definitely think it can be done in a creative way. I don't think kids can all sit at desks right next to each other and be talking, because I think that would be too difficult and disruptive, and they would all be listening to or talking over each other. But I think when you incorporate flexible positioning and posture and different places to work in an environment, it's definitely doable.
Agreed. Well said. Excellent. Bridgette, you're fun for our group. You have a lot of soapboxes like the rest of us. You fit in perfectly in our group. We're a group of soapboxes. I love it.
I've only ever been at your AT town hall, I think once ever, and then the AT chat on Wednesday nights. And I don't even know how to fit in extra. I feel like I'm spinning my wheels with how busy I am, but I definitely have to try and join your groups more often.
Yeah, so we're glad you joined us for sure, and we love your perspectives and love your passion, as Joy said in the chat. It's wonderful.
Well, I would love feedback, please. I really would love feedback. And are you? I want to save these notes, because there are quite a few notes that I don't know that I've
saved the chat.
Karen, just so you know, the writing used to be on learning tools, but I've actually now it's on. So this link that's on here now, this is the new links, because I know you were using it. We were kind of putting it on an old site that's not really used anymore, but now that we've got it on, it's now Body Brain Tech, because everything I do now, I'm not just talking about AT, I'm talking about movement and rhythm and how movement impacts brain function, and also technology. So that's what my new website is now, Body Brain Tech.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Oh, there you go. And Kelly pointed out, Kelly gave a quick plug
Kelly,
for her and
yes.
Donna's session at Kate. It is called Scribbling, Start
Scribbling.
Writing Early.
Okay, I need to be at that.
There you go.
Either be at that or get a recording.
You can also find a 45-minute session recorded at AAC in the cloud. Oh, if Kelly would only put those links in the chat, that would be amazing. No pressure, Cal. We'll just all stare at your big box, your black box right now. Where are you? There you are. I see you. We'll search those links out if we have to, and I'll try to add them in underneath the recording when I put it on YouTube. Oh, hello, Cal. You gonna find them, or you want me to find them?
I'll find them.
You're gonna find them. Nice, awesome. All right, and I'll drop them in to the YouTube recording.
I
Other
got
thoughts?
the AAC in the cloud scribbling one is in the chat box.
Look
There
at
you go.
you.
Then they're both done. The SWAC one's in my text, in my message.
How do you guys stand yourself? Wait
Okay,
one second.
I don't recognize everyone here, but I recognize a lot of you. I would love your feedback, even if it's a 3-line email, guys.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
I really can't work a lot more on this unless I know if people are going to use it and if it's worthwhile. And I want to know more from you than just me thinking it's a good idea. Seriously, it's got to be something that more than
It's a
just
good idea.
good.
I'll write an email too, but it's a good idea. Excellent. Anybody else? Last call before we let you go. Back to your day. Awesome. Bridget, again,
Can we
thank
get
you.
your email address in the chat, please?
I will put it in right now.
Awesome. Everyone, don't forget to save your own copy of the chat. Maybe wait till Bridget puts her email in it, but
Will we have access to her presentation?
yes, Joy, there is a link to it. Wait, let me find it. It's way back in the chat. Hold up. Unless someone beats me to it.
I can
I got
I
it.
can put that in now.
I got it.
Did
Wait, I don't have it. I thought I had it, but I don't have it. Wait a second. Okay.
okay,
now I got it.
Naomi put it in.
There's always somebody who's a little faster than me. Good for you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Naomi. All right, everybody. Bridget, again, thank you so much. Everybody else, thank you. Thanks for coming to our special event. I'm going to make up some other reason. I have a special event next week to get everybody here too. I don't know what yet, but I'll think of something. Everybody have a great week. Maybe we'll see you Wednesday for ET Chat.
Thanks
Thanks.
everyone.
Thanks again,
Thanks.
Bridget. Appreciate it.
Yeah.